On site. Episode 3. Let's get it.
Let's freaking get it.
Devon is here. Yo.
Cool.
Welcome to California.
Thanks. I missed it.
What is good, Influential Walls fam? For those of you guys that are first coming to the channel, we are a collective of top-tier muralists that is empowering artists across the world. We mentor artists of all ages by going to schools and teaching kids how to start their art businesses. And we also run an adult mentorship program teaching artists like yourself how to grow in your careers. We offer an extensive video library, guides, retreats, one-on-one calls and group calls in our mentorship program if you guys are interested. More about that later, but today we're getting into our third episode of On-Site with Devona Stimpson. Now, I actually started following Devona Stimpson before I even made the agency, so it's really cool to have the opportunity to work with an artist that I've always really looked up to. Her artwork has this really cool realism style that is blended with all these really bright and vibrant colors. And her personality is just super down to earth. She's super kind, very authentic, very, very professional. She's done mastermind groups of her own. She's really spent a lot of time investing into her own education and had some of the coolest mentors in the game. Not necessarily in the mural world, but in the business world. And that's something that I really, really respect about Devona, because when I first met her, she was sitting there talking to me about marketing funnels and about her sales process and just about branding in general. She actually used to own a branding agency. So I wanted to spend some time today talking about some things that we had visited in our time together when we were painting for Stacy Middle School out in the Huntington Beach area. Devona and I really highlighted the idea of having really tight processes as an artist and understanding that your processes in your marketing, your sales, the delivery of your art, and also just your client communication as a whole is so important. So I want you guys to listen in on some of the key points of this interview with Devona, where we really were highlighting the importance of having a contract, of being communicative with your client, and in a lot of other key areas of your business. So 20-year-old artist wants to get into selling their work and they ask you for tips on sales. So you'd say, learn sales first. What are some tips that you'd give specifically for sales?
Ooh. Listen more than you speak and pace yourself. I still have to practice not just rambling and going at a fast pace.
Yep.
And, making sure I fluctuate my tones, giving them pause so that they can speak back to me when I ask questions. Because sometimes I'm so nervous and anxious. I'm either over giggly or just answering for them because I'm nervous to hear what they have to say.
Right.
And I feel like I was really like that when I was younger.
What else?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the magic is kind of in the follow-up. Always schedule a follow-up call, before you get off the phone. Don't just say hey, yeah, we'll touch base next week. It's no, I'm gonna send you a calendar invite for next Tuesday at the same time. Does that work out so that they can't really ghost you? I mean, they can still ghost you, but it's less likely. Actually set a time and date to do the follow-up if they're not ready to say yes right on the call. And then just making sure you have a process and being confident in that process. I feel like a lot of artists just kind of I just create, right? But it's you need to write out step by step what the process looks like to work with you, before working with you, after or during and after, and how you're able to communicate that to the prospects, even before they hire you. That way you just seem more professional and then you can be more confident in what you're doing and what you're selling. And it kind of just sets boundaries too, leading into whatever the job is going to be.
Contract.
Are always a must.
Facts.
A deposit and a contract before we're paying.
Always. So one thing to note, guys, as far as having a contract is we are not lawyers, we are not legal advisors, and none of the advice that we provide can be classified as legal counsel. I'm only here to speak from certain experiences that I've had as an artist and as an agency owner working with contracts. but a contract is so crucially important because it establishes boundaries for yourself and for the client both, and it's there to protect both parties. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. A lot of artists will get scared to send a contract or just think that it's unnecessary. And that's when your clients are really going to milk you for more rounds of revision, or they're going to go back on something they said about payment, which is the absolute worst. Hopefully, you never have to deal with that. But a contract is there to also provide dates of when revisions are due and when the clients need to meet with you, who is providing a scissor lift or who is providing the materials, and just all these other small little nuances in terms of making sure that you're protected as an artist. And if you guys need a contract template, we do have one for sale on our website, but you can also probably just have ChatGPT kind of generate you one. We just do have one available for the artists that want to use it. But again, like I said, we can't be liable for any sort of legal action taken against your business or any loopholes in the contract that you or your client decide to work around. You know, like I said, we are not lawyers or legal advisors, just an artist trying to provide resources for other artists.
Even when I get off a call, it's good to even do a recap email, and even that can be something that you can refer back to if for some reason you don't have a contract or you forgot to send in contracts. Like, hey, I said here, like, this is what to expect. This is what you told me. Here's what I need from you. That way there's like no miscommunication. Another rule of thumb is really just to over communicate. You can't over communicate too much. You can't ask too many questions, and you can't over follow up. You can't over call because you never know what the person is going through. Well, sometimes even for me, like when it comes to say like a follow up, for example, I'm like, oh, I don't want to annoy them. They're probably like really busy right now. You might feel like you're annoying, but the other person's actually thankful because they're busy and they're doing a million things, and you may not be top of mind, and you're over here kind of scared to reach out because you don't want to be a nuisance or feel like you want it too bad or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, this is how you make money. You got to go after the job and do what you got to do to get the communication and the things that you need from the client. So
Yeah, and I mean, the worst thing that could happen is they say no, right? So like you reaching out or not reaching out. If you don't reach out and they ghost you, it's not much different than if you reach out and they say no anyways, so you might as well reach out.
yeah.
Well, even in the email marketing systems that I told you guys that we set up, like with principals, we have to follow up with them like 4 to 5 times to get a response. They usually respond on like follow-up 3.
I
But
get so many emails.
yeah, they get
Yeah, they get so many
emails from the families, from the kids, and like that's just business owners. Like you probably get a bunch of emails. I get emails all the time, like my emails constantly flooding with offers, vendors, partners, and then also just like cold emailers, hitting us up. So
Yeah.
another process that is really worth highlighting, guys, is your process in terms of how your marketing takes place. A lot of people kind of have this marketing system, quote unquote, of referrals and word of mouth. And sorry to break it to you guys, but that is not a system. That is luck. I am a very mathematical sort of person when it comes to generating leads, and I like to have leads that are predictable. I want to be able to know if the person coming into the call with me that is looking for a mural has purchasing power, aka do they have money to work with me? And I want to know how many leads will come in each month if I give my lead system, my marketing system, a certain input. So for example, as far as selling murals go, I know that for every 100 emails I send, I should get about a 4 to 5% reply rate. So for every 100 emails, I should get 4 replies. Of those 4 replies, 2 of those replies should be qualified leads that want to meet with me and talk to me about a mural call. The average price of a mural that we sell at Influential Walls as of now is about $22,000 to $25,000. So if I take right down the middle, that's about 23.5K. And our close rate is pretty high, meaning that if someone gets on a call with us, we're closing 80% of the people that come on a call. So then I have to work backwards in figuring out how many emails do I have to send in order to get 8 closed deals. Now, I get it, you're an artist and you don't want to have to do math all the time, and maybe your brain doesn't think like this. I'm sorry to break it to you, but as an artist, particularly a freelance artist, you signed up to be an entrepreneur. So you need to understand different processes, whether it's your marketing process, your sales process, your client communication process, your onboarding process, meaning when a client comes in, and also your art delivery process. So for me, one of the most formulaic means of going about creating a marketing process is by controlling who sees my emails and controlling how many emails go out. This is what's really led me to be able to scale Influential Walls to the company that it is today, where I am able to give jobs to other artists, because I used to give all the jobs to myself, but then we started coming up with enough leads to where I can put money in other artists' pockets. And that was through a strategic outreach platform where I would use a software called Apollo, which helps me find emails for decision makers at major companies. And then I would use what we call an email service provider. There's different ones on the market like Smart Lead, which is one of my favorites, Instantly, or Mailshake, that are going to automatically send emails out, making it easy for me to send 100, 200, 300 emails in a single day. So when I have my emails constantly churning out, I know how many emails need to go out in order for me to book a certain amount of calls to stay booked for the whole year. This has allowed me to really control my marketing, and it's something that I teach all of my mentees how to do within our mentorship program. But in order to determine what sort of companies you want to reach out to, you need to have what we call brand strategy in place. So let me take you to a little snippet of me walking around on site at Stacy Middle School talking about brand strategy. Brand strategy is determining what sort of companies that you want to work with and developing assets for those sort of companies that they would find intriguing, exciting, and interesting. So, for example, because we work with so many schools, a large part of what we do is community engagement. We do workshops for kids, we do ceremonies, we do career days. You guys have probably heard me talk about this stuff before if you've already been to the channel. But if you wanted to work with basketball organizations, it would benefit you to learn how to design jerseys, to learn how to actually design a basketball and basketball courts, even just doing mock-ups and being able to put that into what we call your pitch deck. A pitch deck is essentially a presentation that discusses who you are, the sort of clients that you service. So ideally you should be niched because it's going to help you build your referral network, speak their language, and develop more products in the future that are relevant to your audience. Okay. So you build your pitch deck, which showcases who you are, who you service, what your process is like. Do you do a design in 2 revisions? Do you do 2 designs and 1 revision? Your base pricing. So as an artist, you should always set a minimum. In my opinion, if you're doing murals, you should always have a minimum of $3,000. It's a lot of work to do designs, revisions, the phone calls, the headache of organizing the contract, the invoices, hunting down your clients to pay you, or whatever it may be. Phone calls are some of the most annoying parts of the job, guys. So you need to charge for the headache, the designing, and the painting. Okay, so 3,000 should be your minimum. You'd include that in your pitch deck. You would include case studies, which essentially shows the sort of art that you've done in the past, the problems that you're actually solving for clients, because we are solving problems through murals, right? We're either helping them with community engagement, marketing, or branding for the most part. And any other products that would fit well for that client. So if you were, say, pitching to basketball organizations, you'd want to show that you could do jerseys. You want to show that you do basketball courts, you could do murals, that you could do really anything that's relevant to said niche. Now, if you're thinking about what niches you should target, there's definitely some niches that are more profitable than others. And you want to also choose a niche that you're passionate about, because it's much easier to speak to that niche if you actually know what you're talking about and you can relate to them, right? Again, people buy from people they trust. Do they trust you? Do they feel like you have a deep understanding of who they are and what they care about? So ideally, you're working within niches that you're passionate about. Okay. Now, niches that aren't very profitable are usually like restaurants and gyms. Now, there are some exceptions to that, where you can work with a restaurant group or a large hospitality group, or perhaps you're working with a gym that's been established for a long time. But for the most part, they usually have pretty low profits at the end of the year, so they're not investing tens of thousands of dollars into murals. Some of my favorite niches to work within and niches that we've seen to be highly profitable are sports, schools, and government contracts in general. Okay, so government contracts, sports, technology, real estate developers, apartment homes, and I'm sure I'm leaving some others out. But you'll be able to know if a niche is profitable based on what sort of jobs are available in that niche, right? If there are high-paying jobs in that niche, it tells you that that niche probably has a lot of money. Medium-sized companies are usually best because there's less decision makers, but they have a lot of money. And sure, large companies might have more money, but there's usually a much more extensive approval process, which can make things difficult when you're trying to make moves and close your wall. This is a lot of high-level stuff that I've learned just over the years, and by networking with artists like Devona, with Morgan, with Steve Martinez, and some other members in the crew, and also members even outside of the crew as well. And that's why it's so important, guys, to take advice from people that you would only trade places with. That's why it's important for you to be around other masters of their craft, okay? You are the product of your 5 closest friends. So you need to make sure that you're surrounded by the right influences, okay? So this is a reason why I was able to take Influential Walls to the point to where it is in 5 years, okay? Well, technically 4 years, because that's when the agency started, but we've scaled very, very quickly. We're working with artists across the world. We've worked with major clients. We've closed 6-figure deals. The only reason we've been able to do that is because I surrounded myself with the right people, which is why I highly encourage you guys to be very particular with what sort of podcasts you're listening to, when you are listening to podcasts, what sort of friends you're surrounded by, and the thoughts that they have, the ideas they have. Are they people that take action and execute? It is important that you're surrounded by those sort of people, okay? Because those sort of people are not just inspiring, but they'll also teach you things. And you're only going to get as far as the education and the knowledge that you retain. So if you can meet people that are ahead of you and spend more time with them, that's going to go a long way. I would even say that even listening to educational content on the regular from some of your favorite creators can change your life. When I first started this business, I was just listening to people like Christo, to Pander, obviously hanging out with the amazing artists that I was able to meet early on, but I was constantly listening to, like I said, Christo, Pander, Alex Hermosi, Russell Brunson, Gary Vee, a lot of people that were just constantly feeding me information. Even though I haven't met some of these people, some of them I have, but even though I haven't met some of these people, because they were in my ear all the time and I was constantly listening to them, I was influenced by all their ideas, right? And it would just resonate because I was constantly listening to them, constantly digesting all the information that they would share, okay? So that's why this is so important for you to just hang around the right people. This is the exact reason why we started the mentorship program. Okay, in the mentorship program, you guys are able to have direct access to me, at least for the time being. And I do group calls. I'll do one-on-ones with artists. I'll audit their whole business. And not just that, but you get to be plugged into the community, because some of the mentees in our community are insane, guys. Like, some of these guys are doing 100, 200K plus in their business, which is like so gratifying to see. And we all meet as groups, right? We're in group chats. We have group calls that we do. We do mentee meetups. We do retreats. The mentorship community is dope. You're surrounded by a bunch of hungry artists. And even the ones that are still getting started, they are there to learn. They're there to share information, to ungatekeep things. So if you guys are looking for that community, mentorship is the spot. And it's just dope. You're hanging out with a bunch of dope artists. Like, come on now. But anyways, enough about talking about our mentorship program. Just long story short, make sure you're surrounded by good influences. All right? Sending love, y'all.
All I hear, go get the money. So I go get it. Hate means I do something right. So I'ma let 'em. Yeah, I'ma let 'em. Yeah, I'ma let 'em. I hit the
More to come. Lots more to come.